So I had a question texted to me just the other day, or actually it was yesterday, and didn't have time to respond to it, but I told them I would ask. Um, a gal from Colorado left me a message and said that she is going to be a donor for her brother for some bone marrow transplant. And all the physicians doing the procedure had advised her, and she showed them her Niken nutritionals, to cease taking her Niken nutritionals. Now, prior to that, and of course her question was, it was more of a statement, I don't want to stop my Niken nutritionals, but they're asking me to do that. And, just from a common sense standpoint, I know that the people doing that procedure are in control. If they're doing some type of blood testing or whatever, they're seeing some nutritional things that they aren't liking, they're probably going to disqualify her as the donor and not do the procedure. So I didn't really respond to it, but any thoughts on that?
Well, a lot of times what happens with physicians is when they don't know, they don't necessarily have time to research it, or there's not evidence-based medicine around it. They just say, well, let's not do that because I don't know what effect it's going to have, good, bad, or indifferent. My common sense says that because Dr. Naidu basically created a Mother Nature again, that it's pretty much a natural product if we're talking about the bone health. So if it were me and I were doing bone marrow, I might talk to Naidu, but I probably would go ahead and take it anyway. But you have to, you really have to work with your healthcare providers and talk about their recommendations. And I would probably ask more questions. I'd say, is there something there that is a problem, or is it, why are you saying that? So I'd ask them for more information. And if they say that they didn't know, then I probably would hand them the studies that he did that were published in the Journal of Osteoporosis, and have them read that and see if they were more comfortable with it. Bottom line is that bone marrow transplant needs to get done to save her relative, and so whatever it takes to do that is what you're going to want to do. But a lot of times, like for me, if somebody says, "Oh, I'm taking such and such and so and so of some company," I'll have them bring in the bottle and I'll take a look at it. And sometimes I know and sometimes I don't know. But what you need to remember is that physicians really don't get nutrition. They really get biochemistry for 2 weeks, and it's called nutrition. And biochemistry absolutely is the foundation of nutrition. However, it's not the application of nutrition. And I was always pleased that when I went to nursing school, I had 5 semesters of nutrition by a dietitian. So I got a little bit more background, but I didn't get anything like someone who studies nutrition or who specializes in it or who has a PhD in nutrition, or somebody who does naturopathic medicine or homeopathic medicine. And all of those courses are kind of outside the box of Western medicine, unfortunately. And we're certainly getting better at that. I know when I taught at Touro University for 6 years, actually the biochemistry teacher who had retired came back, and once a week she put on an elective course with lectures about nutrition. And she brought in all kinds of folks and really put a class together that was out of the box, and it was fabulous. I attended it along with the students. So you have to kind of know that as the background. And some physicians have no problem saying, you know what, I don't know. I have no problem with that because I know I can't know everything about everything. And that probably goes along with being a family physician. Certainly the specialists are going to know a little bit more about their little tiny area of what they're working with. But sometimes you'll get a physician who won't say, I don't know. And it's really because they don't know that they're saying, no, let's not do that.
Sometimes you get that. Yeah.
Sometimes you get that. And those are the physicians that I like to go to, because when you don't know, then you're a good physician. I don't know. Let me look it up. Let me ask. To me, that's a good physician when you know what your limits are and your boundaries are. Medicine is it's expanding so rapidly. There's so much more information. It's just impossible for us to be expert at all of it if we're a family physician, general practitioner, et cetera.
So it's not a bad thing to say I don't know.
It's not a bad thing. No.
It's actually the first thing they teach us in graduate school. And if you try to make something up, they bury you.
Yeah, and I made that decision when I was a freshman in medical school. You know, I don't know the answer to that question. I'm going to raise my hand and ask. And what I found was that everybody else didn't know the answer either. They just weren't brave enough to raise their hand. And once I got over that, then I got a lot more knowledge because I said when I didn't know.
And as a little sidebar, I might add, it would be very nice if the medical side were to teach more nutrition. I say this all the time. It's like veterinarians I work with have 6 semesters in nutrition courses.
It's getting better, Gary, but it's not. You know what has to happen for the Western medicine to do that is they have to actually expand the amount of time that people go to medical school. It is impossible to get all the information in 4 years. You know, it needs to be a 5 or 6 year.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Before you get into your residencies, et cetera. So I think that's pretty, and then that's going to be cost prohibitive probably. The other disclaimer I'm going to make is that I know everybody likes to contact me, you know, in between and around and through, et cetera. I cannot answer questions that are directly related to your medical care because for one thing, I'm only licensed in California, and for another one, I don't have any malpractice insurance that covers me, and my malpractice carrier says I have to have malpractice coverage to act as a physician. The last one is that I'm in a very busy new job where they send me about 16 new patients a day out of 20. And so my days are really full. I can't take questions except in the morning on these morning calls. So you can send them to Dave and he can hang on to them. But I can't get back to you during the week on questions, and I can't get back to you on my doctor says this about this health problem and this medication. What do you think? You can go to Doctor on Demand, MD Live. There's a multitude of telemedicine services out there that will be available in your particular state for a nominal fee. Usually it's around $40 for 15 minutes. And that's what those folks do is they help answer questions that you would have if you went into a medical practitioner's office. Okay, looks like Heather's got maybe somebody who's got a question, huh?
I've got somebody that's got a question, Tina.
Okay.
And there's an answer live button. I'm not sure how this works, but I'm going to click that. Her question is, what can we do for lupus?
Okay. Okay. So we can't unmute her. Can you unmute her?
I'm looking.
Okay. As I said, we're beta testing this, guys. So if you get it, just let us know. Okay, somebody asked what was the name of the medical site. It's called mdlive.com or Doctor on Demand. There's many of them out there. Those are 2 that I happen to have worked with in the past, so I'm familiar with their platform. But MD Live is on an iPad app, and I'm sorry, Doctor on Demand is on an iPad app. Okay, lupus, that one comes up a lot. Lupus is what we call a collagen vascular disease. It's in the arthritis categories. And what happens is, probably you can take this better than I can, Gary, do they have that in animal husbandry too? Do they have collagen vascular problems in animals or in cows or not?
Well, they're usually not around long if they have.
Okay. So what happens is how the body makes the connective tissue it gets messed up for a very medical term. And there's a lot of inflammation, and there's a lot of immune things that are going on with that. So one of the problems with lupus is it can affect the lungs. And so I always recommend people start out with certainly water. You're going to always hear me say water, water, water. We're 70% water. We need to flush out the toxins. We need to keep ourselves really well hydrated. So drinking half our body weight in ounces of water minimally a day is important. Plus 2 for every caffeine and plus 1 for every 25 pounds overweight we are. The water is important. Air is very important because this connective tissue gets where it's not very flexible. And so they have a hard time with lungs breathing. Now, you know that if you do strength and balance testing and flexibility testing with magnetic and far infrared products, that we get more flexibility. And that not only affects muscles, but also connective tissue. So having them sleep in a sleep system, using the long johns, I got to always remember we've got the long johns back. Long johns make a huge difference. Back when we had them before this round, I mean, people were using them all the time and having amazing results with feeling better with inflammatory conditions. Certainly the immunity, and I think the bone health, that because the body's immune system gets created in the bone marrow, it's good to have healthy bones. And so I would put anybody with any type of an autoimmune problem on the bone health and with the immunity. And then of course everybody needs to have basic good foundation. The KVB, the Jade Green, the Siaga are what I think of basic good foundation. So any input on that at all from the physiology standpoint, Gary?
Well, anything that we're going to be doing to help with inflammation is going to help those conditions, and I think you pretty much covered it. Just like you, I always say water is the first thing to start with. Get your body hydrated well. The sleep system, for those, I've helped a lot of people with that issue with that as well, and the good nutrition. So really nothing else to add. Good job.
Well, the other one would be the joint, because of
absolutely
MSM in it, which is an anti-inflammatory.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would be pretty much it.
Okay. Another question from Jeannie. I think that's Jeannie Z. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to promote her to a panelist so that she can ask her question.
Great.
Jeannie Z-Dan.
There she is.
There's Jeannie.
She's muted. She's muted. She's got to unmute. There we go.
I had to take myself off video.
Well, don't do that.
That's not fair.
I haven't seen you in a while. What are you taking yourself off video for?
Oh.
Yeah, I used to be able to do this in bed, but I can't.
Hey, this is a PG program. Come on.
Well, I have a dear friend who has vasculitis, and she has the sport bottle now, is learning to drink more water. So we have her on that point of view, but something has happened, a lesion in her lung or something. And so I'm thinking probably what you said about the lupus with the airways and sounds good. But
a lot of people forget about the air. Yeah, and so vasculitis is inflammation of blood vessels, and so we have blood vessels all over our body. Certainly, drinking the water, having that magnetized water will make a difference, because once again, if you think about when you do a flexibility test with somebody, the muscles relax, and remember that arteries have muscle walls. And so when you see the thermographic imaging that I showed on, I guess it was the last time I did the product piece, we did thermographic imaging and showed what happened with the blood vessels in the foot in a time lapse. And that's what happens with the muscle walls of the arteries, so that we actually improve the flow of blood, which then brings in the body's own helpers, okay? Brings in the nutrition, brings in the oxygen, and then takes away the toxins. And anytime, I always try to relate it to, if you ever run and you're not in really good condition, or you run too long, too fast, you get that side ache. A side ache is lactic acid. And that's what happens when the body cannot keep up aerobically with metabolism. It puts out the byproduct of lactic acid. And lactic acid hurts. But if you kind of like stand there for a little minute and breathe and catch your breath, pretty soon it goes away. Well, that's because the body goes in and it flushes that area, and it pulls calcium from the bones to alkalinize that acid. So that's what happens when we're using our Nikan technologies, and we're getting lots of water in there. And yes, the joint, the immunity, the CM cream. If she has the vasculitis on her extremities, and I'll repeat that piece that I was taught when we first had our joint and our CM cream out. The acetylmeristoliate is a fatty acid ester, which is just a chemical name for a piece of what the body uses to make the body work. And it gets stored in fat cells. So when we take in the joint product, it goes to wherever it's needed, and the excess gets stored in the fat cells. But that takes a period of time. And it doesn't necessarily get down to the ends of our body, to our extremities, so to our fingers and to our toes. And so what we were taught was use the CM cream every couple hours on the fingers, the wrists, the hands, the feet, if those are the problem areas, while you're taking the joint to build up the stores, so to speak. And it will go in, the cream will go directly into the area of need. So you're kind of loading the tissue with the capsules, and you're using the cream for just the spot-on areas of irritation, inflammation, soreness, etc. And I always refer to Paul Calloway. When I first started, we used to have a healthcare providers group. Every time we had a conference, we would get together for breakfast, and we would chat and give our experience and give our information. We used to have a call also. And Paul's a PhD in golf in Chicago and has a physical therapy business there. And he said when he's working with people who have problems, musculoskeletal problems, he'll have them use the joint, but particularly the CM cream, every 2 hours. And what he found was he was able to if he saw them every other day or twice a week, he was able to pick up where he left off because they hadn't flared up after he worked on them the last time. They had kind of stayed calm, and he could pick up and he could work faster and further and better because of using the CM cream on these particular areas. So when you have the sprain, the strain, etc., it's important to try the CM cream, and then you can start them in on the joint. And there's stories of folks like Carrie Roundy, who had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and had 18 joints replaced by the time she was in her 20s. Had such bad osteoporosis that when she tried on her shoe to get married, she broke a bone in her foot. And she heard the conference call that I did, developers of our original joint product, and she megadosed it. She went on I think it was either 12 or 18 capsules for a period of days, and got the inflammation under control. And when I came back into Houston area and I saw her after several months, this is a woman who'd been in a wheelchair and walking with crutches. She came and ran and got in front of me, and she jumped up and down. She says, "Look, I can jump and I can run." And I said, "Oh God, don't do that. You're going to break." She didn't break. So it made a huge difference for her. But she used all the products. She used the far infrared. She wrapped herself in the quilt. She used the joint products, etc. So the other thing that I want to remember to say, because I don't think I've said this on any of the other calls, and it's very, very important. When you have somebody who has an acute problem, they're out playing ball and they sprain something, and they don't have any underlying issues, you can like sock stuff to them. You can like throw it at them. In Western medicine, we don't tend to do that. We tend to do, let's do this one thing and see how you do, and are there any side effects, and then we can come back, and then if that's not working quite right, we'll up it or we'll add something else. But with Nikken, it's really kind of a synergy. So 1 + 1 = 1,000. So somebody who's otherwise healthy, who has a boo-boo or an owie or a sprain or a strain, you can really pretty much sock stuff to them. You can use the far infrared, you can use the water, the nutrition, the magnetics, the CM cream, etc. Somebody who has chronic illness, this is a whole different story. You have to go slow, because otherwise they're going to think you beat them with a 2x4. So if you throw them on the bed and you wrap them in bracelets and you put them in insoles and you do all of the magnetic things, remember that magnetics tend to relax those muscle walls of the arteries, so we increase blood supply. When we do that, we start to pull the toxins that are kind of sludging between the cells out, and we get that same kind of response that I just described of somebody who's running and gets a side ache. And so we need to be flushing that out. So thus chronic problem folks, I used to work with an orthopedic surgeon. He wouldn't let them have anything until they drank water for 2 weeks. And I didn't take it quite that far. I'll make them for 3 days really be drinking at least half their body weight in ounces of water. And then I'll start with something like far infrared. You saw the pictures of the different animals and the lady that I put the far infrared on, and how it starts to decrease the swelling in the tissue. So now you're starting to move that pooling of toxins and waste products back into circulation, so it can get broken down by the liver and the kidneys and get excreted. And then you can start adding onto that. So really be sure that you're hydrating. If you look in the, well, I used to say in the catalog on the price, I guess it's on the price list now in the computer. Different magnetic fields that we have different Gauss ratings, and Gauss rating is the strength of the magnetic field. And Nikken's R&D has done that on purpose because of the application that they have for those different types of magnetic fields. Now, what we're told is the body will only take what it needs. And so, if you put 10 necklaces on, do you get 10 times the dose? Supposedly not. But they do have different Gauss ratings. And so if I'm going to have somebody with chronic problem, I'm not going to start with something that's 2,000 Gauss if I have the opportunity to start with something that's 500 or with 1,000. Or the other thing I'll do, if sometimes you'll have people say my feet hurt, I put those ankles on, and I couldn't stand them after 30 minutes or after 3 hours. Well, then I'll say, well, put them on for an hour, take them off for an hour, put them on for an hour, take them off for an hour. And the other thing we used to do with the mattress is that if somebody was super sensitive to it and they felt really sore and like somebody had beat on them with a 2x4, we would turn the mattress upside down for the first week so that the magnets were a little bit further away from their body. So those are some of just anything else, Gary, that you can think of that we've done that kind of helps to modulate when you've got somebody with chronic problems.
Well, it's, again, I think you've covered it all and done a good job. But I do get that your comment on if one magnet works well, then two will work better is not really a valid, magnetic energy is not cumulative. So but I would say Gauss in certain areas is an important issue to pay attention to. And I might just jump in there whether we're talking about any of our energy products, they really work on principles of physics to help reduce that inflammation. When you have an area that a lot of people think when you have inflammation is because you have too much blood in that area. It's absolutely the opposite of that. You aren't removing any of the metabolic byproducts. And what these energies do is allow our body to do that, and then also bring in oxygen and nutrients so those cells can start to repair themselves. So it's actually a very beautiful concept from a physics or a science standpoint. Very elegant the way the mechanism of action works.
Yep. And when I do the presentation about water, I'll try to do a demonstration that shows exactly when you run water through a magnetic field, you actually make the molecules smaller, so you have more surface area. They're more easily able to get into the cells to do exactly what it is that you were talking about, Gary. Okay, Heather, you did good, Heather. Congratulations. You beta test won that one. Let's see if we can get somebody else on board. Somebody else who's not in bed.
Anonymous. We have an anonymous question. And the question is, Lyme's is very common where I live. What can we do?
Lyme's, okay. Now, one of my favorites. Okay, so I have to jump out of my Niken box first, and then I'm going to jump back into it. I worked for 5 years as medical director of hyperbaric, advanced hyperbarics in Marin County. And it was started by a woman whose entire family was devastated by Lyme disease. We had a lot of Lyme disease in Northern California. And what happens is that the spirochete that causes Lyme gets encapsulated in the body so that you can't get things to it. You can't get, antibiotics to it if it's been long-term, et cetera. So when you put them in a hyperbaric chamber, they are an anaerobic organism. They do not like oxygen. So we put them in a hyperbaric chamber, which can then penetrate that capsule and do damage to the spirochete. And we saw some amazing responses to that. Now, it's not something that's paid for by insurance because the UHMS doesn't think that there's enough evidence that shows that it makes a difference. But on a day-to-day experience, we saw it make a significant difference. So it helps to also to detox. Now, as a support system, the Niken Wellness Home is significant for Lyme, because what happens is you have lots of toxins that get created by that metabolism of Lyme's going on. And so the water, the sleep, the nutrition, anytime you have the body in a chronic situation, it's not getting what it needs to heal itself. And we already know that our regular American diet doesn't have what it needs nutritionally because our soil has been so depleted. So I always talked about when I first started that 50 years ago, you could eat a cup of spinach and get X amount of nutrition, but now you eat a cup of spinach to get the same amount of nutrition. So it's really important that we kind of supplement. And the other piece of that is that by age 50, we are have lost about 50% of our digestive enzymes. So the food that we are eating, we are not assimilating. Now we have a fabulous digestive product that works on the 4 different food groups. And I had a patient come in who I knew needed digestive enzymes. We used to have them prescription-wise. They weren't 4 different food groups, but that they're no longer made anymore. So we're, as far as I know, the only company that's got any kind of a product even close to what can help with digestion with our product called Digestion. So if somebody can get to a hyperbaric chamber, if they can afford it, they have to do 40 sessions in a row, which is 5 days a week for 2 months. We put them at a very high oxygen concentration. They're 90 minutes in the chamber. Takes about 2 hours for a treatment. So it's a significant commitment to time. It's a significant commitment to money. But I would have them in a wellness home, breathing the air, drinking the water, using the nutritionals, sleeping in the sleep system, everything that we have as far as a wellness home to help with the detox and the support. And I know we have David Martin has his sister has a whole group of people that have improved with Lyme's. They didn't do hyperbarics because they didn't have it available, but they got significantly better. Now that's a group of people, once again, you got to be really low and slow and start with the water and really get them well hydrated because they've just got all kinds of metabolic problems that they're not detoxing from. So they'll think you beat them up with a 2x4 if you throw the kitchen sink at them.
Okay, thank you. The next question is from Dee Welsh, but I can't find her in the participant.
Hi, Dee Welsh.
Her question is meningitis.
Okay, I can't hear paper and I didn't hear you, Heather. What was it?
Meningitis help. That's what she's asking.
Meningitis. Okay. Well, there's bacterial meningitis, viral meningitis. If it's bacterial, you got to be on antibiotics and you got to get to the hospital like ASAP because you die from that one. It's an inflammation. So the things we've talked about as far as inflammation are going to be important. Certainly hydrating. I would definitely have those folks in a sleep system. Certainly, I might work with the far infrared headband. The necklace, let me think what else. The foundation nutrition is going to be, I mean, that's a wellness home type of a support system because your immune system has got to fight the viral infection. So when we go back to thinking about bone health and that the body's immune system is developed from the bone, bone health would certainly be a foundation also. You know, as I start to answer these questions, most of us probably think about bone health when we're talking about somebody who's got osteopenia, osteoporosis. But as you hear me think through these questions you ask me, anything that needs to have a good foundational immune system needs to have good bone health. And so we're probably missing the boat and not getting enough people on bone health that could benefit from it because of how it supports the bones making good immune system white cells for our body.
Okay, thank you. Tina Davison, I'm going to see if I can promote her to panelist so she can ask her question.
Yay.
Oh,
tell Dave he's been replaced, Heather.
are we on video?
You're on video, Tina.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Oh, my word. Good morning. My question, Dr. Ash, you've mentioned several times that you need to drink half your body weight in water.
Yep.
Well, I mentioned that to someone, and the woman got very mad with me because she said, my husband is over 300 pounds, and if he drank 150 ounces a day, I think it would really do some damage. And I thought, I know it would deplete his electrolytes, but can you talk me through how I'd answer that, please?
Yeah, so for one thing, it'd be physically impossible to do it because all you'd ever do is just be drinking and going to the throne, right? So basically, I would probably start him on what is his ideal body weight. You know, how tall is he? Let's say I would say what I say to my patients. So what's your lean, mean fighting machine weight? You know, and they'll tell me that they know, right? Gary, you guys know, you know, when you're 18, 19, 20, you know about, you know, well, I look really good when I'm 180 pounds, or look, you know, I'm 6'5", and so when I'm 240, I'm just right. And you can actually go on to probably different websites and check out what a BMI, body mass index, should be for somebody based on their age and based on their height. So you can certainly look it up. So you want to start that. But the point of the matter is that people do not drink enough water. And we need to have water to be able to burn fat. And so kind of the rule of thumb is for every 25 pounds you are overweight, you need another glass of water. So it's probably really more like half your body weight of your lean, mean fighting machine weight. And then for every 25 pounds over you are, another glass of water. When you're 300 pounds, that's way too much water. You're never going to get them to do that. But what you're trying to do is to get them up. So if you could get them to 8 glasses a day, 10, you know, ask them, what are you doing now? You know, 8 glasses a day, 10 glasses a day, 12 glasses a day. That's doable. You got to kind of work at it and think about it, but that would be helpful and that would be reasonable. Good question. Thank you, Tina.
Yeah. And my assumption is if he's 300 pounds, he's probably not drinking near enough water. He's chronically dehydrated. He's probably not sleeping well. And what can we do to put his body into a position to start losing some weight? And that would be the first recommendation I would. And Tina, I might add here too, I get that question often because in Water Matters in the self-care series, we always say half your body weight in ounces. Now that's a rule of thumb. And when we say 7.5 hours of sleep, that's kind of a rule of thumb too. But the point is very valid that 75% of us walk around chronically dehydrated every day. I think that is a major causative of many chronic diseases, as well as not sleeping enough, or quality sleep as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, so Gary, so, you know, I guess, and my biochemistry is way rusty, but when we're sitting there and we got all these toxins to handle, we're really not aerobically metabolizing, right?
Oh, it's correct. Yeah. And we're storing them in the fat. And we aren't, again, we're however we want to look at it as far as body burden or pollution in people. And I'm with you, and I always have been. The first thing I like to do with people is introduce them to healthy water. Our body's 70-75% water. It's just plain common sense to drink the healthiest water you possibly can.
Right. Okay, Heather.
Jeannie had a question again about sleep apnea. I'm going to put her up.
Can't we put her on camera?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Dee.
Jeannie.
Jeannie again.
You have to dress up for these, Jeannie, I'm telling you.
Yeah, you got to get up early, put your hair on, get your lipstick on. You're muted, Jeannie.
Jeannie, you're muted.
Hit your mute button.
I can't do anything from here.
There she goes.
Okay,
There she goes.
I am.
There you are. Awesome. Awesome.
I'm getting ready to take the dog to the groomer. Anyway. What about sleep apnea? What would you with our decant products?
Okay, so sleep apnea, so let's talk about what is the physiology of sleep apnea. For some people, what it is, it's an anatomical narrowing between the front of the throat and the back of the throat. For some people, it's the fact that their little soft palate, the little uvula that hangs down and goes back down below their tongue. For some people, it's they're so overweight that they kind of fill up this part of their neck with fat, so they narrow the airway down themselves. Mm-hmm. Basically, what happens with sleep apnea is as they go to sleep and they lay down and their tongue drops back, they obstruct their airway. So the brain says, oh, no, I can't let you get down into that deep sleep because you'll stop breathing and you'll die. And a lot of people die in their sleep at night. It's because they have sleep apnea and they actually do stop. But these people are chronically exhausted because they never get down from stage 1 and 2 into 3, 4, and REM. So when I talk about sleep next time, you see how important that is, because in stage 3 and 4 is when the body heals itself and runs around and cleans up all the cells that normally died, and the immune system repairs itself and makes more immune system to repair. So it's very important that we get to stage 3 and 4, sleep, and then into REM, and they never do that. So they're chronically exhausted. Their body doesn't get to repair itself, so they get more infections. That all kinds of things don't work well when we don't sleep. So the first important thing is water. The second most important thing is sleep.
Right.
So with sleep apnea, if they're overweight, then you're going to do what we talked about so far, which is hydration, but then put them on the KVB so we can get some of that weight down. Okay. The next thing is going to be to get their airway opened. And I really like how our new pillow is made, because what it does is it puts the roll on the neck, and when we go to intubate somebody, we put them in the sniffing position. We tip their head back, and then we kind of push down like this to open this airway so that we can get the tube down, and that's called sniffing position. And I would probably take our new pillow, and I would take a little bit out of the big thicker part, and I would put a little bit more inside of the roll so that it was a little bit firmer and it was a little bit more supportive.
Okay.
And then I would have them certainly be in the sleep system. I would give them the air filter. I think the air that they breathe is very, very important, and certainly that they need to be hydrated.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank
very
you.
much. Good to see you, Gary.
Okay, Heather, you're
Good to
muted.
see you, Jeannie.
Heather, you're muted.
Heather, you're muted, dear.
All right.
It's my first time. All right. Nancy Clyde has a question, so I'm going to go ahead and promote her to a panelist.
All right. You have to show Dave how to do this next week, okay?
Sure.
This works
I
great.
think we'll just let Heather do it.
Nancy, you're muted. You got to just click your unmute button down on the left-hand corner. There you go.
I guess like all of you don't look like you have your makeup on, so I'll let you see me. But
Oh, you look great. You look great, Nancy.
Gary doesn't have his makeup on, Nancy.
my sister-in-law lives in New Zealand, and for the past, I don't know how long, 2-3 years, they now have a diagnosis. She has multiple system atrophy, which they say is in the cerebellum, which is horrendous. And I'm just wondering, they have the water, she has the sleep system and all, but just how much can we do when it is the body brain? I know it's protecting the brain. So what? I know it's a very
You win the Stump the Doc. I'd have to look that one up. Let me write it down again. What is it?
multiple system atrophy.
Okay. Multiple system atrophy of the cerebellum, or does it say?
They're saying that it's hardening, therefore it's affecting the entire body. So she is not able to walk well. Her speech is slurred. When I explain it to people, and I have not seen her in 2 years, it's sort of like, I would say Lou Gehrig's MS, all of that rolled into one.
Okay. All right. So she's got the water and the sleep. Those are certainly going to be the foundation. I would, if it's a vascular issue, sounds like she's not moving things. Sounds like it's a little bit of a combination of college and vascular. I'm guessing right now. Okay. I do have to look that one up to see what it is. But it's all about things not moving in and out like they're supposed to, the same way we talk about the lupus. So getting her the best nutrition, and I don't know what they have in Australia. I guess you could ship, but I'd go to the foundation of the KVB, the jade green zymes, the Thiaga, okay, probably the woman's multivitamin. For me, that's the foundation if I'm going to give somebody basic good nutrition. And we don't get that good nutrition. And is she like about our vintage?
Yes.
Okay. So probably the digestion.
Okay.
Probably the digestion. And is it an inflammatory process? They don't know?
I do not know. They are coming. I live in Texas, and they are coming here, and they'll be here 3 weeks. And I said, pack light, because I'm going to load you up with stuff when you're going back.
Yeah, yeah. So if it's an inflammatory condition, then the same things we've been talking about as far as the joint
Mhm.
and the bone health. Okay. Now, if she's having difficulty with her speech and she's having difficulty walking, then you're going to do, the insoles. You're going to do the necklace, set her in a seat pad, those kind of things. And then I kind of check out if it's affecting the small vessels in the body. I would check out hyperbaric treatment also. So here's what happens with hyperbarics with like somebody who has a stroke. When they have a stroke, part of the brain, either because a clot or because of a bleed, part of the brain tissue actually dies. But part of the tissue just idles. So the cells are still there, but they're not getting what they need nutritionally, oxygen-wise, et cetera. So they just kind of sit there and they just kind of idle. When we put them in a hyperbaric treatment chamber for 40 sessions at low oxygen in this particular case, after about session 20, the body starts to do what we call angiogenesis and create new little blood vessels. Now those little blood vessels get into this area that's idling, and they wake up because they get what they need in order to do their physiologic process. So what we're seeing is with traumatic brain injury, people who have had car accidents, have head injuries, are vets. Amazing things are happening. People who have had strokes, even when it's been more than 18 months, and we in Western medicine say, well, 18 months, you're going to get what you get, because the body fixes whatever it can fix. But that's not true. We still have these idling cells. And so we've really seen an improvement in brain function because of getting that blood supply back, which, as we've said 100 times today, gives you the oxygenation and the nutrition that the body needs for it to do itself. So there you go.
All right. Thank you very much.
You bet. I have to go to Up to Date and pull out my multiple system atrophy.
Okay, we got it.
Actually, Ted Baker just chatted a definition from the Mayo Clinic website. So if you open up your chat.
You can see it.
Open up my chat. Okay, go ahead, Heather.
All right, Tina Davison has a question that she asked you 3 weeks ago, and it's stumped you. I'm going to go ahead and promote.
Parkinson. Okay, all right. Go ahead. Unmute.
Oh, my word. Putting me back up on screen. No. Okay, great. So Dr. Ash, 3 weeks ago, I stumped you with the question about Ehlers-Danlos. I'm not muted.
Okay, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
Muted.
We just can't see you.
Oh gosh. All right. Fine. I'll put, okay, so 3 weeks ago, I had asked about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if you'd had a chance to stump you and you were going to check it out.
Yeah, I did. I actually answered it the following week, so we kind of talked about it. You might want to go to the Royal Alliance and listen to it, but it's basically collagen vascular, the way what I thought it was. So the things that we talk about lupus and the collagen vascular, that I talked about lupus earlier. So those are basically it. Yeah. Yeah, I have a thing called Up to Date, and Up to Date is where we physicians go when we need to kind of get the latest and the greatest about anything. And what happens is researchers or people who are editing, they go in and they look at all the different studies that anybody's done, and they give us a summary article about it. And so, yeah, that was like 13 pages you made me read, but I got smarter. Yeah, but it's collagen vascular like we talked about. So, I guessed it. I guessed it right, but that's a board question. You see, well, I say, oh, that's a board question. It's like, did you read the 20%? The difference between a B and an A is about 20% more information, but it's about 80% more time. So that's how we always talked about that. And you say, oh, that's a board question. Okay, Heather.
Right now, we don't have any more questions. Does anybody else have a question for the doctors? Nobody?
Okay, well, let's get barbecuing and getting all the people who have dedicated their lives to us and keep us safe. And Everybody have a really great weekend, and I will see you in 3 weeks. So Heather, you can maybe let Dave know that next weekend and the weekend after that I'm out of town,
I will.
and I'm not getting up for you guys either. So there, I want to sleep in.
And I might make mention too, everybody enjoy your weekend, but Wednesday evening on the Power Call for the Self-Care Awakening series, I'm going to do a new presentation. It's going to be Weight Matters. So tune in, 6:30 p.m. Wednesday evening.
You rock, Gary. You're so awesome. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for getting us doing that. I like it. Don't you like it better with everybody getting to ask their questions?
Yeah, but Heather needs to change her name. It says Dave Johnson on there.
I know it. Yeah, Heather. Master woman. Okay, everybody, have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.